Same way into coaching, we did some singing and dancing and davening. We brought a shul back to life by filling it with the sounds of tefillah. In the Beis Medrash, we bring it back to life by filling it with the sounds of Torah learning. But before we do, just one quick word on the Chozeh and one word on Rav Tzadok HaKohen, because they are both such pillars of Lublin, and here we are sitting in Lublin. The great Chozeh, Dr. Bernstein introduced us to. So in your source books on page 39 and 40, you have a phenomenal story, as told by Rav Michael Twersky of Milwaukee, of the Chozeh's clock. The Chozeh's clock was unlike all other clocks. Most clocks count the passage of time, and it's negative. Time is lost. We've passed time that can't be recovered. It's behind us. Most clocks record our aging process. We're getting older. We have less time ahead. The Chozeh's clock had a very special tick. The Chozeh's clock didn't count how little time we have left, but it counted how little time left there was till Mashiach. Every clock in the world, when it ticks, it's depressing. Every tick signifies another second of life gone, spent, never again to be claimed. That's how most of us deal with time. But the Rebbe had a command and appreciation for time. Every moment to him was a moment closer to the Geula Shlema, to Beis Bias Mashiach Tzidkenu. His clock didn't tick with sadness or sorrow. It wasn't a mournful tick, it was positive, full of hope, not a tick of despair. The tick-tock of the Rebbe's clock was one that marched towards the Geula Shlema, and so here we are longing for that Geula Shlema after what we've been witnessing, and we think about the clock of the great Chozeh of Lublin. You could read the rest of the story. A little bit of learning from Rav Tzadok HaKohen on page 41. Rav Tzadok HaKohen, who Dr. Bernstein said is many Sfarim are coming alive today, just like the Maharal was dormant for centuries after his passing till it was brought back to life. The Tzadok HaKohen's learning are proliferating in our time, have become very popular. And here in one of his Sfarim is the following teaching, which again you'll see was selected for its relevancy to why we're here. Ein liyehudi lehizyayish mishum davar. A Jew never ever gives up hope. Bein b'inyanei haguf, bein b'inyanei hanefesh. Whether it has to do with a threat to our physical being, or whether it's a threat to our soul, to our spirit, a Jew never has despair. And think about that in the context of Jewish history. If we ever gave up hope, if we ever suffered despair, could we have overcome the Crusades, the Inquisition, the expulsions, this Holocaust that we are paying witness to? We'd be gone, we would have disappeared long ago. But rather our strength in the DNA and the fabric of every Jew is that a Jew never despairs. And then you skip down to the underline. This is at the core of a Jew. We don't get lost in trying to analyze and understand why. We maintain a sense of hope. And if you go back up, he quotes the Gemara in Brachos. Even if a person has the edge of a sharp sword resting on their neck, they should not despair. They should continue to pray for God's compassion. As a member of our shul, Jeff Hilowitz, who just shared with us on Shavuos at a meal at home, his father was a prisoner in Plashav. And his father, for no reason, was selected by the Nazis to be hung publicly in front of a lineup of the camp. And his father was elevated on top of a box. The noose was tied. The rope was put around his neck. The rope was attached to the gallows. And the Nazi cruelly kicked the box out from under him so that he would hang and die publicly in front of everyone. But the rope broke, and he fell to the ground. So the Nazi, frustrated and angry, took out his pistol and shot him. But the pistol jammed. So he borrowed another pistol, and he aimed it at him, and he pulled the trigger, and the second pistol jammed. And frustrating, he said, "Get back in line," and he gave up on him, and he survived. And his son, Jeff Hilowitz, was the most cheerful, wonderful, outgoing member of our shul, great optometrist in our shul, whose father obviously relayed that story that he experienced directly. A sword can be resting on your neck, the rope around your neck, the pistol aimed at your head, and the Jew never ever gives up. We never despair. A teaching of the great Rav Tzadok HaKohen that certainly has gotten us through so much. Back to Rav Meir Shapiro, back to the Yeshivat Chachmei Lublin, and back to the Daf Yomi. We talked at the kever, at the grave of the Netziv, how Volozhin, Reb Chaim Volozhin really revolutionized the study of Torah by instituting a yeshiva. And as was said, Rav Meir Shapiro revolutionized the yeshiva by upgrading it to this magnificent edifice. He wanted Torah study not to be something that people look down at, undignified and pathetic, but rather something people admire, regal and royal, and at great sacrifice and effort to produce it. So they asked Rav Meir Shapiro, the Mishnah in Avos says that kachi darcha shel Torah, that the proper path of Torah is pas b'melach tochal, that you eat bread with salt, no elaborate chicken lunches, just a buffet dinner with 10 courses. But kachi darcha shel Torah, the way of Torah is pas b'melach tochal. So Rav Meir Shapiro reinterpreted the Mishnah. Listen to his brilliance. He said, you're reading the Mishnah all wrong. That's not what it says. What the Mishnah says is, kachi darcha shel Torah, pas b'melach tochal. Is that the way of Torah? That you look so pathetic, so meager, you just dip bread and salt, that's all you're going to eat? Torah study should be uplifted, admired. It should be something which is regal. He created this enormous yeshiva at its time, and yet, you think about it compared to our time, this was the most prestigious yeshiva, the illustrious, the elite. And look how small the Beis Medrash. Think about the Mir, think about Beis Medrash Gavoa on Lakewood. Think about YU has to have multiple Batei Medrash to fit all of the students learning Torah. And this was the great yeshiva of its time. Lest we think it's ancient history, Dr. Michael Michel shared with me he has a patient, Henry Meir Shapiro, interesting name, who's turning 101 in a couple of months, who is a Talmud here at Yeshivat Chachmei Lublin. And where Michael is sitting was the makom in the Beis Medrash, where his patient, Henry Shapiro, sat and learned Torah in this illustrious yeshiva before he could no longer. Rav Meir Shapiro was such a transformative figure that there are people you know named for him. Rav Yisrael Meir Lau, whose pictures adorn the stairwell, former chief rabbi of Israel, the mayor of his name is for Rav Meir Shapiro. My nephew, my brother's son, Al Yashiv Meir, is named for Rav Meir Shapiro. My sister-in-law's family had a great connection. But even closer, my wife's great uncle, her Yankabachi, was a nephew of Rav Meir Shapiro. And the family still has the postcard that Rav Meir Shapiro sent to his parents to say Mazel Tov on his bar mitzvah. And when her great uncle went to Madison Square Garden for a Siyam Hashas of the Daf Yomi, he carried that postcard of Rav Meir Shapiro wishing his parents a Mazel Tov on his bar mitzvah to that Siyam Hashas of the Daf Yomi that was instituted from his uncle. Absolutely, absolutely incredible. Rav Meir Shapiro teaches us about what it means to have dreams. On page 34, you have this amazing story. The story talks about the time that Rav Meir Shapiro, the great Rosh Yeshiva, the dignitary of Lublin, came off a train. He was surrounded by people so widely admired and revered, not only for being a great Talmid Chacham, for being a leader of the Jewish community, but also for instituting the Daf Yomi, that dream. They thronged around him. One of the Yidden on the train was a distinguished young Rav who took the opportunity to give him a Shalom Aleichem to Rav Meir Shapiro, also known as the Lubliner Rav. He introduced himself as the son-in-law of the Shatzer Rabbi, a name that was close to the heart of Rav Meir, who had grown up in the town of Shatz. Rav Meir looked at the son-in-law of the Rebbe and said, I have a strange question for you. And this at the time, and in some communities today would still be a strange question. Is your Rebbitzin perhaps with you? Is your Rebbitzin, is your wife here? I'd love to talk to your wife. That's what the Lubliner Rav Meir Shapiro asked the son-in-law of the Shatzer Rebbe. So the young Talmid Chacham said, yeah, in fact, my wife is here. He said, can I speak to her? I want to see her for a moment. So the Lubliner Rav stepped to the side and he addressed the woman that stood before him, the daughter of the Shatzer Rebbe. He said, do you recall how as a small child I would learn with your father in your home? And the woman said, yeah, I remember those days very well. Do you recall how I would play with your siblings and with you? I don't know if you're allowed to print this today. You certainly couldn't put her picture in, but I don't even know if you're allowed to say the story. He was talking to her, that he played with her as a little child. Do you recall how I played with you and your siblings? And the woman said, yeah, of course I remember. You'd come to learn with my father, and then or before we would play. Only a most astute listener could have discerned the slight tremor in the Rav's voice as he continued. And do you recall how I would share my grandiose plans about how one day all the Jews in the world would learn the very same daf of Gemara, a daf Hayomi, and thus be connected in the most powerful and meaningful way? And maybe His voice dropped to a whisper. Maybe you remember how all the children would laugh at the idea. They would mock me. They would call me Da Chayona, deriving immense satisfaction from the joke. And this grown woman who was a young girl he played with now stood silently. She didn't reply. And he said, do you know that I came very close to losing confidence in the plan and dropping it entirely as a result of those taunts? This is the reason I asked to meet with you. I just wanted to tell you one thing. Never, ever laugh at the dream of a child. Now you'll say, come on, who knows that story really happened? How do we know that story? So years later, someone repeated the story in the company of the great Gaon of Posek Yerushalayim, Rav Moshe Halberstam. And the Rav Moshe Halberstam smiled. And he said, I know that story to be true. And you know how I know that story is true? Because the woman from the train who played with him as a young child was my mother. And I heard it from her. So one of the lessons we learn from Meir Shapiro is never, ever mock or laugh at the dream of a child. Because that dream created this reality. How many people in our group learn the daf every day? Everyone here knows somebody who learns the daf every day. What cycle of learning Shas? How many Shas Yidden, how many Jews are there who have completed Shas? They've gone through Shas and hopefully Shas has gone through them. It's something that was unattainable and inaccessible for so long. But Rav Meir Shapiro literally put us all on the same page. There are very few things that put Jews on the same page around the world. Right? There's a crisis brewing right now in Israel. We're barely in the same book, let alone the same chapter, let alone on the same page. Daf Yomi puts Jews around the world on the same page. And it doesn't matter your background. They don't check what kind of yarmulke you're wearing. I'll tell you an amazing thing. There's someone in our shul, a member of our shul, who is not Shomer Shabbos, doesn't keep kosher, doesn't wear a yarmulke, doesn't present himself as observant, who attended the last Siyam HaShas. When I asked why, curiously, I thought maybe it was as a spectator. He said, because I'm completing Shas. I said, completing Shas? Are you kidding me? Completing Shas? I couldn't believe it. Irv Smokler. And he said, yeah, what led you to complete Shas? He said, I heard about this project. You do a page a day, and you can go through the whole oral Torah. And I thought to myself, I could do a page a day. I could read a page a day. And I could be part of a community that's going through and completing the entire Torah Sheba'al Peh, the entire rabbinic tradition. So it doesn't matter where you are and who you are and where you're from. Rav Meir Shapiro put us all on the same page. And here's the other lesson. Why are we zocha? Why do we have a daf yomi today? It's Rav Meir Shapiro. It was that dream of a child. But who gave the child that dream? Where did it evolve from? Where did that idea first get planted in his head? And this comes from a story that Rabbi Fran told at one of the Siyumei Hashas. It's on page 36 in your source book. It comes from one of his books. For the daf yomi idea, we could thank not Rav Meir Shapiro, but we could thank his mother. Because in 1894, Isru Chag Pesach, Rav Meir Shapiro was 7 years old, and he saw his mother crying. Mama, why are you crying? He asked her. 7 years old, his mother crying. She told him, because your Malamed didn't come today. Your personal teacher you study with every day called in sick. He didn't show up. He's not here today. He was supposed to come today. He's not here. So the young Rav Meir Shapiro, at 7 years old, asks his mother, but why are you crying? You don't understand, Meirel. You're too young. But if you miss a day of learning, it can never, ever be replaced. And that's why I'm crying. He didn't show up and you're not going to learn today. And if you miss a day of learning, it can never be replaced. And shortly after, Rav Meir Shapiro had this dream. If missing a day of learning can never be replaced, what if we institute a system in which it would cause you, no matter what time of day, no matter what travel schedule, no matter what you've been through, no matter what burden, that you would never ever arrive at the end of a day without having learned. I can tell you that I began Daf Yomi with this most recent machzor, with the most recent cycle. I'm proud to say I'm still sticking with it. I had chavrusa every day. Obviously I've been involved, maybe not obviously, I hope obviously, I've been involved in learning for a long time. But you know what would happen? You have days. There's the unexpected funeral, there's the travel, there's the chavrusa got sick, there's so much that came up and you find yourself, it's the end of the day, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Too tired. Who can open up a sefer? So you excuse yourself. I was preoccupied with important things, and you go to sleep that day. But when you have daf yomi, it doesn't matter what time, it doesn't matter where you've been, you cannot close your eyes before you've had something spiritually to eat. You know, you could, at the end of a long day, the whole day went by, you didn't eat. And you didn't even realize you were hungry because you were so busy you didn't eat, but then you get home, it's 11 o'clock at night, and you're so exhausted, but as tired you are, and as much as you want to close your eyes, you have to eat a little something. You can't go to sleep without eating a little something. We should have that same attitude towards Torah learning. Missing a day of learning can never, ever be replaced. So the credit for the Daf Yomi goes not to Rav Meir Shapiro alone, but really goes to his mother, Rav Meir Shapiro's mother, who inspired him, who cried when the Malamed didn't show up and taught him that if you miss a day of learning, it can never be replaced. And I encourage you to read the rest of that entry from Rabbi Frand, who talks about the greatness of Daf Yomi. He doesn't talk about this, but I say is the greatness of Cal Ripken Jr. What's the greatness of Cal Ripken Jr.? Consistency. You know, Babe Ruth, Lahavdil, but maybe on the same trajectory, Aaron Judge, Shlita. So their greatness is hitting home runs out of the park, but as much as they hit home runs, they also set records for strikeouts. Cal Ripken Jr. didn't set any records for home runs, but he showed up day in and day out, no matter what. Set the record for the most consecutive games. Who knows the number? I'm not that much of a bucky. The most consecutive games. Daf Yomi creates consistency. It makes it consecutive. It creates a sense of tamidi, a sense of continuity. It's this incredible gift to our people to all be on the same page. And I know this is radical in some communities. There are communities where women have a Daf Yomi, where women join a Daf Yomi. Men are doing a Daf Yomi, observant, non-observant, whatever material of Yarmulke. It puts Jews around the world who want to be on the same page. And you know what? In the margins of the Daf, it doesn't say anything about who you voted for, what you think should happen in the Kotel Plaza, what should be with the conversion bill. It doesn't say anything about what you think should be the rule of gun control or the new healthcare bill. When you're on the page of Daf Yomi, you get to escape all the things that divide us and go to a place that unites us, our sacred Torah and our Torah Sheba'al Peh. What a gift. If you turn to page 38, you'll see today's daf. And we are about to join Jews around the world. And in the Beis Medrash of Meir Shapiro, Zatzal, in his Beis Medrash in which Daf Yomi was introduced and began, we are going to join Jews around the world to be on the same page. Page 38. Today's daf, the fourth day of Tammuz. Baba Basra daf Kuf Nun Zayin, Baba Basra page 157a. And a special recognition to Rav Meir Zlotowitz. Shiva is being observed right now for Rav Meir Zlotowitz, the founder of ArtScroll. Where would Daf Yomi, if Rav Meir Shapiro introduced us to Daf Yomi, where would Daf Yomi be without Rav Meir Zlotowitz and ArtScroll making the Gemara accessible to everybody? And in so many languages. We have an ArtScroll Gemara right up here. So his neshama should have an aliyah through his incredible zechuyos as well. The Mishnah in the middle of our daf, I'm going to read it very quickly to be Mekayim. Kuf Nun Zayin Amud Aleph. Oh, you have an ArtScroll also. We got the Hebrew ArtScroll back there and the English ArtScroll up here. There's a Spanish, French. I don't even know how many languages there are of ArtScroll already. The Mishnah says, Nafal Abayis. We are 2, 4, 6, 8 lines down. Talmud is made up of the Mishnah and Gemara. And the Mishnah says the following, Nafal Abayis alav. The Mishnah here is talking about what happens when you have two people in the same house and there is a succession of inheritance and there are debts and liens on these people and the house collapses and we don't know who had their demise first, the chronology of their passing. So Nafal Abayis alav v'al aviv. A person and his father are in a house and the house falls on them both. O alav v'al morashav. Or it falls on him and those will inherit from him. V'haisa alav ksuvas isha u'bal chov. And there are two liens, two debts that he carries. The ksuba, the fact that his wife, either upon divorce or his demise, has a debt. His estate owes her money. The ksuba is not a romantic document, though despite it hanging artistically on some walls, it's a financial document of commitment, it's a contract. So he has the debt to his wife, ubal chov, and there was a loan he took, and there's a debt. So now, who died first, and who inherited first, and who collects first? That's what the Mishnah is dealing with. Yorshehav omrim, the father's inheritors, meaning this person's brother's claim, haben meis rishon, v'achar kach meis ha'av. First our brother died, and then our father. And why does that matter? Because if first the brother dies, then the father, then when the father died, this brother had no claim to the inheritance, so his children have no claim, so they get the entire estate. Whereas if the father died first, then the brother had a claim on the estate, and when he died, it went to his children, so now the brothers have to share with their nephews. So of course they argue, because it's to their benefit, that the brother died first. But the creditors say, no, the father died first, because that's for their benefit. So Beis Shammai Omrim, what do we do? There were no cameras. We have no witnesses. We don't know who died first in this dilapidated building, and therefore who has the rightful financial claim. Says Beis Shammai, in such a circumstance, yachloku. Yachloku. We simply divide it. All that which is in question, we split the difference. We divide it in half. We rely on the concept of muhsak, that whoever has the assets, the one who wants to extract it, the burden of proof is on them, but we don't split them. Whoever has them holds them, and the burden of proof is on the other. I know it was a little complicated, the Mishnah, even if you didn't follow, but you were on the same page nonetheless, and we were able to tap into the beauty, the gift, the incredible, incredible legacy that Rav Meir Shapiro leaves us, this yeshiva having transformed Batei Medrash and yeshivas everywhere into a place that is illustrious, that is elite, that is prominent, that's royal, that's regal. That kachi darcha shel Torah, is that really Torah that pas b'belach tochal? He gave us the legacy of consistency. And his mother, he gave us the notion that you never ever mock the dream of a child, and never underestimate as a parent what our children see us value and the impact it will have on them. When Rav Meir Shapiro said, "Mama, why are you crying?" she didn't say, because I can't get the car I wanted, because I can't get the dress at Nordstrom's that I wanted. She didn't say, I'm crying because, whatever, my TiVo didn't record the episode that I wanted to see. She was crying because his Malamed didn't show, and he understood from that what matters to her, and therefore what matters most, is that if you miss a day of learning, it can't be replaced. So Daf Yomi puts us all on the same page. It teaches us to dream, and it teaches us as parents and grandparents to be aware of the dreams that we share with our children.